Dr. Harlan says the Estraya should have what we're looking for.
Correct. Though I'm doubtful it will be easy to extract.
I'm sure we'll figure something out. Jack, just let us know when you're close.
Will do. These units were used to refuel ships.
Yeah, input only now, though. We got them hooked up to take in the contents of the gear you're collecting. Once we have both the fuel cell and the biomass container hooked up, we'll use these to route what we need to where we need it.
We are becoming quite skilled in bringing order to chaos.
Seems like we were built for this kind of work, huh?
Indeed. These containment units are quite effective. The ticks appear well pacified. How will we safely transfer them into the ship?
We've modified an intake unit to flush them directly into the engineering bay. It should be much safer than attempting a controlled breakout.
A slight deviation from the original accident, but for the added safety, worth it.
How's your work here coming along?
Quite well, actually. For being 400 years into the future, this technology's pretty similar to what we're used to. Suppose an apocalypse slows things down a bit.
Understandable.
Still, the fabricators are quite handy. Juno's been printing me parts as I need them. Pretty cool, huh?
Agreed. I too believe the fabricators are quite cool. The speed with which they're able to reprint my shell is most impressive.
Indeed, I believe you'll find their efficiency impressive as well. A single high-density storage tank is good for hundreds of prints.
Now, if we could just find a way for them to print organic matter, they'd go from cool to perfect.
Liv, are you feeling well? Given your infection, I wanted to make sure.
Thanks, Jack. Honestly, I feel fine physically.
And mentally?
I'm fine there too, Dr. Jack. I mean, don't get me wrong. The state of this future is not great. But we've got a plan to fix it. And I've got work to keep me busy. Just soldiering on, you know?
Indeed. You'll let me know if your condition changes.
Of course.
Approaching the Estraya now.
Finally, if any fuel cells are still intact, they'd probably be deeper within the wreckage. Unfortunately, everything beyond the bridge is steeped in radiation, and the ship's AI is just making matters worse.
The ship's AI? Do you mean Apollo?
Are you familiar?
Apollo was the ship's tactical AI. He was instrumental in helping us survive our first encounter with the biomass.
I just hope he's still online.
Considering my difficulties exploring here, he must be.
Then if we can make contact with Apollo, he can probably help us find the fuel cell we need.
Guess it's time to say hello to our old friend.
Roger that. Heading to the bridge. All this scaffolding. Dr. Harlan, were you attempting to repair the bridge?
I was stabilizing it so I could investigate. It would have become a salvage operation had the ship's AI not shut down all my equipment. With my equipment offline, the radiation there has made it impossible to work.
Not to worry, Dr. Harlan. Apollo will listen to us.
A downed cargo drone. Some of your equipment, Dr. Harlan.
Correct. Incapacitated by the ship's AI, best I can tell.
Why would Apollo do that?
He did mention serving as a tactical AI. It's possible Apollo has activated some security measures around his ship.
Isn't that perfect?
Well, I'm sure you can convince him to help us out, Jack. We did before.
Power feeding from Chiron Station.
A way to keep the bridge online, so Dr. Harlan could investigate.
Wait, you're powering the bridge? Don't you think that could have...
Yes, Captain Rhodes. It seems in doing so that I inadvertently prompted the ship's AI to destroy my equipment. Juno was handling the cargo drone's navigation out there, so I assumed I could safely investigate the bridge. I didn't want to lose an opportunity to learn more. But perhaps this outcome was inevitable.
A bypass for the door controls, locked behind a keypad.
It was the only way I could gain access. The code is 2126.
I've gained access to the bridge.
I assume you have some type of plan.
Apollo's AI core would be an appropriate place to start. It was vital to his operation here.
Good point, Jack. If it's still intact, could be all we need to strike up a conversation.
You two are rather confident.
Apollo commissioned us as official crew members last time we met.
And we did part on good terms. I'm sure he'll do what he can to help.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
A casualty from Dr. Harlan's previous investigation.
It was just another shell lying around the station. We were trying to put it to good use.
I thought I could pilot it well enough, but apparently limb control is not my forte.
I'm expecting you'll fare better, Echo One. If this Apollo is indeed the ally you say he is.
We destroy these components to redirect power to the Estraya's FTL drive. Perhaps doing so contributed to the Estraya's current state of disrepair.
So we made a few adjustments before our leap of faith. Apollo was on board with it, though. Besides, I doubt that actually made the ship tear itself in half.
An electrode for the defibrillator.
If you hadn't found that defib unit when you did, I wouldn't be here.
Your safety is my primary concern. I will do everything in my power to prevent you from coming to harm.
I see. So that's why you're so keen on all this time travel nonsense?
Precisely. If your infection is indeed life-threatening, I am compelled to do whatever is necessary to help you find a cure.
If the two of you are finished.
Right. Let's get back to it.
Apollo's AI core.
Oh, still intact?
Reasonably so, it seems. I'll just need to plug it into the mainframe access slot to be sure.
Jack, once you get Apollo online, it might behoove us all to put in a good word for Dr. Harlan and me. After all, we did invade his operational space.
Don't worry. Apollo's not one to hold a grudge. I think.
The main access point for the bridge systems. With Apollo's AI core plugged in here, we might have a chance of establishing contact. We once used this interface to grant Apollo control of the bridge systems. It could still work. The core made contact, but the connection was rejected. It might require the mainframe access slot instead.
Unknown user detected. Bridge access is restricted to crew members only.
Wait, what?
Initializing threat suppression protocol.
Apollo, disable the alarms. Now!
Invalid command. The only crew members authorized with bridge access are Captain Olivia Rhodes and the Echo Unit designation. Jack, welcome back to the Estraya. It is good to see you.
Thank you, Apollo. It is good to see you as well.
Is Captain Rhodes with you? And well, I hope.
Cheers, Apollo. We missed you.
Likewise, Captain. Jack, your appearance is altered. I almost did not recognize you. I must apologize for the alarms.
Your reasoning was sound.
What brings you back to the Estraya?
We need an FTL fuel cell, Apollo. But we believe you've been disabling Dr. Harlan's salvaging equipment. We'll need it back online to deal with the radiation here.
Preserving this vessel is my primary directive. The last time jump virtually destroyed it. No further attempts to remove or misuse equipment can be permitted.
Lives depend on it, Apollo.
I understand, Captain, but I cannot allow any further material from this vessel to be compromised.
Apollo, Liv is infected with the biomass, and your directive is protecting this ship's crew and its critical assets.
Forgive me, Jack. I failed to follow your reasoning.
You yourself commissioned Liv, a fellow Atlas employee, as acting captain after the deaths of your original crew. You must remember.
Confirmed, though I had not considered her status in such terms. Captain Rhodes is truly infected.
She needs your help.
Very well. As the Estraya's tactical adjunct, my primary directive is to protect its crew.
So you will help them?
Affirmative. I am hereby available to assist you in obtaining a fuel cell.
Lovely. That's settled.
Apollo, are you able to detect any fuel cells that are still operational?
My sensor network has been severely damaged. However, any functional fuel cells on the Estraya would be in the auxiliary drive bay. It can be seen through the window far ahead of the bridge. It is approximately 400 meters from here.
Seems easy enough to reach.
And it would be if this AI hadn't disabled the equipment I set up to counter the radiation.
A temporary security measure. Your equipment is now re-enabled.
You better not have damaged any of it.
Normal operations should resume now. Jack can verify this.
Oh dear. Incoming.
What the hell is that?
A cargo drone. Apparently no longer capable of flight.
Apologies. My anti-theft protocols are quite aggressive.
Fortunately, our salvaging equipment appears to still have working radiation dampeners, meaning Jack should now have a safe route to the drive bay.
That's some good news.
A number of problems remain. Accessing the fuel cells, for one. Doing so will require that I have direct control of the systems within the drive bay. You must bring me along with you.
Are you seriously going to integrate with this rogue AI?
Without Apollo, we wouldn't have lasted this long. We can trust him.
Jack, I'll walk you through the process of downloading my imprint to your cortex.
I'm ready, Apollo.
Simply insert my AI core into the lower receptacle, then use your data link on the override slot. I will do the rest. Disconnecting from mainframe now. Download complete. Only one final issue remains, Jack. Your arms are too short.
Too short?
The FTL technology is highly sensitive. Accessing the drive bay and the fuel cells within will require multiple operators.
Good thing there's two of us then.
Unfortunately, the debris field is far too irradiated to accommodate Captain Rhodes.
You're saying Jack's the best chance we've got, but even he won't be enough.
I might be able to help, actually. The cargo drones employ stasis technology, which enables them to manipulate objects at a distance.
Like the stasis projectors we used to levitate the tram back in the hab.
Exactly. I believe I can incorporate the drone stasis tech into your shell, Jack. I'll just need more data from them to be sure.
The drone that just hit the bridge is unlikely to put up much resistance. I'll start there.
Whenever you're ready, Jack.
I'm heading out.
Jack, to stay protected from radiation out there, you'll need to activate radiation dampeners with your data link. They can be found on both charging docks and cargo drones.
Is there any possibility of recovering this drone?
I'm not sure. Its guidance module is clearly offline, but some of its other systems might still be intact. Scanning its data port will allow us to evaluate.
Radiation dampener activated.
Hypothesis confirmed. With sufficient data, I'll be able to construct a tool for extending your reach, Jack.
Does this tool have a name, Juno?
Well, it will essentially project your grip across space, so I suppose...
It's a grip projector. Let's move on.
More data will be needed.
There'll be plenty on the way to the drive bay. You know what to look for.
Affirmative. Inoperable cargo drones, but with functioning data ports. Heading to the drive bay.
Please remember the charging docks have radiation dampeners as well, Jack. They'll help keep you safe out there.
Thank you, Juno.
Good find, Jack. There's a bit of data in there we can apply toward developing a cure for the biomass. Shields at 50%. Shields at 30%.
Echo 1, those charging docks won't have the data Juno needs to design your new tool, but they will restore your power. Hold your hands near the induction panel, and it will recharge your shielding.
The doctor is correct. The dock's data won't help in developing a new tool. However, I think it may still prove useful, specifically because the docks normally maintain a coordination and optimization network. They contain shared data from across the station. Prior to the generator going offline, the units in irradiated areas were sharing optimizations that I believe could still be used to improve your multispectral shielding, Jack.
Scanning further docks should provide the necessary data?
Yes, I believe so. I've added a tracker to your data tab. Shields at 95%. Archives recovered. I'm quite confident now that with more optimization data, I can significantly improve your multispectral shielding's resistance to radiation.
I am curious to know, why is my shielding not already optimized? Neither my shell nor the charging docks are experimental technologies, correct?
That is true. I believe the lack of optimization stems from two related factors. Firstly, there has not been a significant need for such optimization. The current shielding configuration has been more than adequate for typical X3 mission profiles. Secondly, practical testing scenarios for data collection have not presented themselves until quite recently.
You are referring to the Estraya?
Indeed. Only after its arrival, and the doctor's subsequent attempts at salvage operations in its vicinity, have the docks had sufficient exposure to generate new network connectivity. Now that you are using your X3 optimizing its multi-spectral shielding timing.
Apollo, I wanted to ask.
Yes, Captain.
Well, you probably figured this out already, but... You know this isn't your time, right? This isn't the future you came from.
Affirmative. When we first arrived, I was able to accurately calculate the astronomical year.
Apollo, I believe I may be able to extend Jack's reach by about 4 meters. I hope that will be far enough.
Affirmative.
Just a few more scans should suffice, Jack. Jack, I'm detecting extreme radiation nearby. If you can pinpoint the source, I advise staying clear.
Hell of a lot of radiation out there. Guess it's coming from the Estraya.
Correct. The Estraya's last time jump ruptured a generator, diffusing radiation throughout the region.
That's the radiation dampeners.
Hazard identified. An active warhead from the Estraya.
Once your grid projector is installed, removal of dangerous objects like this will be possible. Until then, maintaining a prudent distance is advisable. Shields at 95%.
Liv, I found a part of the Kronos 2, the hull identification panel. I believe it was pulled through with us when we time jumped.
Just couldn't stand to be without us, could she? You know, I volunteered for the Kronos. No one else would touch it. Far out. But that's exactly why I went after it. I wanted to get as far out there as I could. Fast forward a couple of years, and we're making that jump on the Estraya. All of a sudden, there's 4 centuries between me and everything I've ever known. Can't really get much further out than that.
I would suppose not.
The thing is, now that I'm actually here, all I can think about is going back home.
Approaching the drive bay.
I'm detecting some intense radiation there, Jack. Warheads, I believe. I advise removing them from the immediate area before proceeding.
Sounds like the perfect job for that new tool you're working on.
Correct. It will allow him to manipulate distant objects, including these warheads.
Good luck collecting that data, Jack.
Copy that, Liv. I'll continue searching for cargo drones to scan.
Dr. Harlan, what was your purpose in attempting to salvage the Estraya? The odds of my ship's components being compatible with yours seems unlikely.
It wasn't the hardware I was after. Your ship was the original source of the infestation. I'd hoped to find an undetonated biomass torpedo amongst the wreckage. Use it to develop a cure for all this.
I understand, Doctor. Considering my current directives, I will provide any useful data that may help in your research.
Better late than never, I suppose.
Installation successful. Jack, your multispectral shielding should now be more resistant to radiation. Please note, however, that contact with biomass will still drain it just as rapidly as before.
Understood. Thank you, Juno.
Of course. Shields at 95%. The stasis projection technology will be simpler to adapt than previously anticipated. If you scan one more cargo drone, I believe I will have enough data to complete your new tool. Charging dock restored. Jack, now that we've completed optimizing your shield's radiation resistance, I'm afraid there's nothing more to be gained from the dock's data.
What's the point of an advanced network of semi-autonomous recharge stations if you can't count on them to calculate impressive optimizations for you?
I believe you are correct, Captain. The distributed computing power of the charging docks could be put to greater use.
Yes. That's precisely what I meant. Go on.
I have tasked the charging docks with developing a means for allowing Jack's shield to self-regenerate. The wealth of empirical data they have collected on recharging should prove invaluable to the process.
Then I presume additional data scans would be of value after all.
Indeed. Please continue scanning any docks you may find. The additional computing power of more active units would be advantageous as well.
Copy that.
Tool schematics complete. Please visit a fabricator to install your new tool, Jack. Most charging docks will have one nearby. projector installed. To use your grip projector, simply point at a target. Activate the projector and direct it with your hand. Any sufficiently small piece of debris would be ideal to experiment on.
If your new tool works as intended, Jack, you should be able to access the fuel cells now.
Good. Heading to the drive bay. I'm back at the drive bay. Armed with the grip projector this time.
Great. You should be able to remove those warheads now.
Shields at 95%.
Warheads removed. Entry into the drive bay is now clear.
Copy that. Standing by.
Now heading for the fuel cells.
Great. We'll keep a working cargo drone on standby. Just look for a good fuel cell and we'll handle the rest.
Roger that. A spent biomass torpedo.
Just like every other that was left behind here. Useless for my research, unfortunately. As soon as one detonates, accessing its incubator is no longer tenable.
Apollo, do these controls operate the door?
Correct. To open the door, both controls will need to be engaged at the same time. The controls near the drive bay door may be used to gain access, Jack.
I've gained access to the drive bay.
Wait, those pillars in the center, are those...
The Estraya's FTL drives, yes.
do they still work?
Theoretically, but unfortunately they're of little use to us. With such a high concentration of biomass forms in this area, any attempt to remove one of the drives would prove futile.
Dr. Harlan, I'm noticing these ticks appear to be less evolved than those we previously encountered.
Must have carried over from the last time jump. No doubt just as dangerous. I advise avoidance at all costs.
Jack, my monitoring systems are offline here. You'll need to manually inspect each fuel cell in order to determine its viability. Simply scan their data ports to get started.
Fuel cell located.
Use the data port and I'll expose the cell for visual inspection. Exposing fuel cell for your inspection, Jack.
Empty. I'll have to keep looking.
Jack, before we remove any fuel cells, you'll first need to check their condition. Access the data ports near the cells so I may expose them for your inspection.
Apollo, what are the chances that any of these fuel cells are still full?
The fuel cells were not designed for time travel, so unfortunately the odds of viability are incalculable. Scanning all their data ports will answer your query, however. Accessing fuel cell.
Another empty cell.
Apollo, you're sure there's a good fuel cell there?
I never said I was sure, Captain Rhodes. It's simply the most likely location on my ship to contain a viable fuel cell, if any were remaining.
Right. If any were remaining.
Jack, the data ports you need to access are located on the storage units running along the room's perimeter.
The units may be covered in biomass, but the ticks seem to prefer the center of the room.
Exposing fuel cell for inspection.
This does not look good. These cells are all empty.
Exposing cell for visual inspection.
Viable fuel cell located. Hopefully enough to power Dr. Harlan's FTL drive.
Nicely done, Jack. I'm sending a drone your way.
Send 2.
What for? There's only one fuel cell.
Just trust me. Send 2.
Warning, lead ground compromised.
Jack, what's going on?
The ticks swarm the lead cargo drone.
And that is why you send 2.
Fair enough.
I don't think we'll be using that one again.
Backup drone malfunctioning.
More ticks. The lead drone is disabled, but the backup still has a chance.
Pesky bastards, aren't they?
I'll clear them off.
Shields at 95%.
Cargo drone cleared.
Acknowledged. Thank you, Jack. Resuming flight.
Do we know what the biomass does specifically to an FTL drive to trigger a time jump?
I have a few theories.
As do I.
And I'm sure they're all equally preposterous.
The drive assembly looks remarkably like Dr. Harlan's FTL, if only a bit larger.
As I understand it, our drives were reverse engineered from the ones left behind on the Estraya 400 years ago. Their functionality hasn't improved since then.
Speaking of functionality, any luck finding a good fuel cell?
I believe one of the exposed cells may be suitable. I'll double check and report back. Fuel cell released.
Cargo secured. Ready for departure.
Excellent. Second gantry's all set. So I'm heading back inside. I can finish the hookup from there, Jack. Unless you want to do it.
I'll take care of it, Liv. I'd prefer to see the job through to the end anyway.
Okay, great. We'll see you in a bit.
Cargo drone returning in T-minus 10 seconds. If you wish to return now, I advise taking hold of the drone. Cargo drone departing in 3, 2, 1. Firing thrusters.
The fuel cell is clear of the drive bay.
Great. We'll have some cargo clamps CNC welders haven't changed all that much in 400 years.
That design is actually from a historical archive. It was the standard for most of the 23rd century. I'm afraid it's the closest approximation to a welder I could fabricate. I hope it's acceptable.
Perfectly adequate, Juno. Thank you.
Cargo now approaching the dock. Beginning descent.
Hey there, Jack. Good to see you're still in one piece. Same deal as before. Hookup controls near the cargo clamps.
Fuel cell in place and ready to be secured.
Fuel cells secured.
Systems nominal. Both the fuel cell and biomass container are secure and fully engaged with the ship's intake systems.
Of course.
Also, Dr. Harlan could always use more data for his research, if you'd like to continue exploring the station.
Copy that, Juno.